Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Get to Know Them. This is like my favorite day of the week. I just love bringing people on and hearing their stories. It's so much fun, and I'm so happy that you are here for this very special episode with an old friend of mine. We go way back and we got lots of stories to share. But before I introduce our guest, I wanted to welcome you. This is Get to Know Them, and I am your host, Monica Graves. I broadcast my show from Burlington, Ontario at my jewelry studio every Tuesday on Facebook Live. And then, of course, this show gets uploaded to YouTube afterwards and also to Acast. So you can either watch the show or you can listen to it in a podcast format. I have a couple of show sponsors that I wanted to talk to you about. My first show sponsor is Brenda Bedome. She is a fantastic clothing designer based out of Toronto, Ontario. You can check out her website at brendabedome.com, and when you use the coupon code Get to Know Them, you will receive 20% off your order. And our second show sponsor is like my favorite hangout in the whole world, Scooter's Roller Palace. If any of you watching used to skate in your youth and you're thinking that would be a fun activity to get back into, come on out to Scooters in Mississauga. Thursday nights at 7 p.m. They do have lessons for adults, which is a great way to, brush up on your skills and feel safe out there on the rink. So please come out for that. My third show sponsor is Flourish and Bask in beautiful downtown Oakville. My friend Chantel Ingram owns that business, and she has a lovely assortment of alcohol-free beverages if you want to give them a try, and also beautiful glassware. It's a lovely little shop, and it's just off of the main drag on Lakeshore. So make sure you check her out. And also you can use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 10% off your order. So you can either go to flourishandbask.ca or just walk right into the store and she will honor that coupon code. Last but not least, I also sponsor the show with my jewelry business, Glam Jewels, GLAMJULZ.com. And we are a custom jewelry company, but we do so much more than custom jewelry. We actually help people to fundraise for causes they believe in with our jewelry. So if you have a cause or a person you want to raise money for, anything you might be advocating for, please reach out to me. I would love to hear your story and see if there's any way that we can help you. So, are you guys ready to meet our guest today? I'm so excited for you to get to know Deryck Roche. I have his bio right here, and I'm going to read that to you. This is going to be a great chat, and here we go. Let me just pull up the bio. So, Deryck is a drummer, a producer, mixer, and audio instructor. Deryck actively works in the Toronto entertainment industry and pursues live gigs, studio session, and multimedia production projects in Toronto, Canada. Since 1998, he's worked with some great composers, producers, musicians, and artists on some great album projects, remixes, and TV film projects. Deryck began teaching audio production in 2003 at Harris Institute, showing students the latest drum programming and music production techniques using Logic Pro X and the APP3 Contemporary Music Production course. The course includes various music production techniques, recording, mixing, remixing, and audio sound design techniques. Since 2008, his focus has been on music production, TV music production, and game audio sound design. He's gained a lot of knowledge and experience from some of the best companies in North America. These include S&S Post Productions, Marble Media, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Catasky Dyer Music, Platform Productions, Leader Media, Branks Theater Productions, and Breakthrough Entertainment. Some of you may know him as the drummer and band manager of his band, Chicken Waffles. I'm so excited to catch up with Deryck. So I met Deryck a couple of times through friends when I was like 14 or 15 years old. And I think maybe I saw him a couple of times after that. And we just met up for a reunion on Saturday night, which was awesome. And now I get to talk to him for like 45 minutes to an hour. Here we go. Deryck,
Hey,
how's it going?
good. How are you?
Good, good, good. My God, do you love hearing your bio? Do you feel like, oh my God, I've done a lot?
I haven't done enough yet.
It's just the tip of the iceberg, eh?
It's just like a couple things. I want to do more. Call me,
Yes,
call me, call me,
yes.
call me. I want to do more.
I love that. Isn't it funny? I feel like there's something to be said about like life after 50 almost, where you feel this like renewal of like, okay, let's get started now. Like,
That's
because
right.
I guess you just get to a point where you don't give a crap about what anybody thinks
No,
and
you
you
just
just
got to
want to
do it.
do what makes you happy.
You just got to do what makes
Yeah.
you happy. And I was just talking to one of the other teachers just before you came on, Mark McClay. He's one of the other teachers at the school, and
Yeah.
we had this thing where it's just like, you know what, you got to wake up every day and you got to be grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to say, wow, thank you, I get to do this. I get to wake up
Yes.
and do music. You know what I mean? And make a living from it, and and share
Yeah.
my experiences with people through teaching, and a lot of different things
Yeah.
like that. So it's a really good thing.
Yeah. And the awesome thing is I give you so much credit because you've created all this for yourself, which is so inspiring. And this is going to take me right to the first question I ask all of my guests because I love this as the jumping off point is what did little Deryck want to be when he grew up?
Well, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a musician. Um,
Yeah.
I joined the White Oaks High School jazz band. I think it was in 9 or grade 10.
Mhm.
And but you know what? The funniest thing is the first experience for me was when my parents would go to Boston every year, and my uncle took me to a concert, Earth, Wind, and Fire concert. And
Oh,
when I saw that, it was just I was done. I was like, I'd never been more sparked or enlightened or whatever you want to call it to do music. You know, that was the
oh
most.
my God.
That's probably when I was like 7 or 8. You know, and
Yeah.
I was just like, look at the horns, look at the drums. Look at that.
Yeah, and they're quite something. I mean,
Yeah,
I saw them in 2019. Like, how many? Do you remember how many guys were on stage? Like, it's a
probably like
huge band.
15, 16 people on stage.
Yes.
Horn section, percussion section, 2 guitar players, bass player, like keys,
Wow.
singers,
Yeah.
Philip Bailey, singing, like just amazing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, a magical
yeah,
time, eh?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
I love that. It's so important, for adults like to take young people to these kinds of experiences.
yeah, for sure.
Live music is so powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just incredible. It's
Awesome.
incredible what it can do for your spirit and how it affects people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. So you had the Earth, Wind, and Fire experience, and then that was it. So that was like when you were 7 or 8, that was your first kind of like spark of,
Yep.
okay,
And
we're
then
onto something here.
when we got back to Guelph at the time when we were living in Guelph, I just kept bugging my dad every week. I was just like, I want a drum set. I want a drum set. I want a drum set. And he finally got me
Yeah.
one. And then I started taking lessons at the Ontario Music Conservatory of Art, I believe it is,
Mhm.
in Guelph at the time. And then, yeah, when we moved from Guelph to Oakville, I continued playing drums. I was taking lessons with. There used to be a small music store at the end of Kerr Street called the High Note.
Oh
I don't know.
yeah, I
Do you
remember
remember
that
that? You
store.
remember that store?
Yeah.
And I was taking lessons from a teacher. His name was Lee DiClemente, and he lives in. I believe he's in Hamilton now. He's still teaching. I talked to him probably just before the pandemic. Um, yeah, he was a great teacher. He taught me a lot about time and feel, and then just different just different patterns in music. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Cuban patterns, Latin patterns, and jazz patterns, and some funk patterns, and all kinds of different things that we would go through, and went through all these great lesson books and things like that, and then that carried right into high school.
Well, so when you got to high school, were you able to start on drums like in music, or because
Well,
I guess there's only one man for that job, right? In a high
yeah,
school music
I
class. Yeah.
remember. I remember. I don't think it was in grade 9 that I actually got like kind of like the drum chair, so to speak, in the
Hmm.
first jazz combo band. I remember Mr. Reed at White Oaks High School as my teacher. I
Yeah.
remember Chris Sarek. I don't know if you remember Chris Sarek, but
No.
he was a couple grades ahead of me, and he was already playing in the jazz band. Actually, no, wait a minute. It was Glenn Milcham. Glenn
Okay.
Milcham. Shout out to Glenn. Glenn was playing in the combo jazz band.
Yeah.
So I think when it was either the first year was his last year, or the second year when I got into the jazz band was his last year and he was moving on. But yeah, it was
Okay.
Glenn Milcham first. Then Chris
Cool.
Sarek was another guy that was playing drums in that jazz combo as well.
Oh, great. That's so wonderful. So you was that I guess that's where you really excelled. Were there other subjects at school where you were like enjoying those, or were you sort of like one track mind all about the
I was pretty
music?
much
Like how was it for
one track minded. I didn't really care about anything but
yeah.
music.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you do the things. I hate to say this, but you do the things to
Mm,
appease the acceptance of your parents, right?
of
So
course.
you do the English, you do the math, you try to do the best you can, try to get the
Hmm.
best marks so they can go, hey, look at this, and they're like, okay, and then you kind of it's like your negotiation to getting the things that you want as a kid. We're
Yeah.
very manipulative as kids, you know,
Yeah.
in that way, right? So I did all those kind of
Yeah.
things. Um,
Mm.
and then, but music was the main thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's so great. I asked that question because I think there's like so many different levels of like being a student and also in life like just being a people pleaser where like you're saying like that need to please your parents overrides the gift that you're born with where some people don't pursue their dreams because they don't want to disappoint anybody. But, I've talked to people like that, and it's amazing how it comes around full circle. Like they
Yeah,
end up in some way doing that initial dream,
yeah.
whether big or small. Like it's so in you, you
You can
can't run
start
away
anytime.
from it.
You can start
Yeah,
anytime.
that's right. You can. Yeah.
I mean, even if I wasn't doing this full time, pursuing it full time, I'd still be doing it. I'd still have like a full
Hmm.
time job doing something else and doing music. I could
Yeah.
never get away from it. I was just like, I remember there was one year where I just, I don't know what it was, but I just stopped playing music, and it was the
Mm.
worst year of my life. I
Wow.
got a full time job at that point. Can't even remember when it was or what time I was doing, but I do remember. I think it was because I couldn't play my drums in the spot where I was at, and I was just like, forget it. Just just do a full time
Yeah.
thing. It was the most miserable time I ever had in my life. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Because
Interesting. Yeah.
once it's in you to do it, and and it comes from
Mhm.
above, comes from the
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
If you're religious, it comes from that type
Yeah.
of thing. It's in you to do.
Yes, you have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like the fabric of who you are, what you're made of, what you're maybe supposed to do. You know?
Hmm.
Do you remember Ian
Yeah.
Lodge?
No, I don't. I'm missing out on all these people. I
Okay,
swear, like Paul Duke is watching now. So you and Paul Duke were like the only two guys I knew
love
that
Paul, man.
were ahead of me. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, I kind of know them, but I don't even know. Like I was laughing. I said to Steve Eggers, I don't even know if Deryck and I ever had like a proper conversation. I think it was just like the little kid, like hanging
There's
out
like
with them,
groups,
like, oh,
buckets, little groups of people, you
yeah,
meet,
yeah,
for a little bit.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the reason why I brought up
yeah.
Ian, because Ian said something to me very, very important. And he said,
Hmm.
maybe what we're doing is what we're supposed to be doing. And I always remember him saying that.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
that's
It's like
great.
it's so profound. It's like, because we always get dragged in all these other different directions,
Hmm.
life and family and friends and whatever
Hmm.
else, and
Yeah.
sometimes we miss out on what it is that we're supposed to be doing. So,
Yes,
yeah.
very true. And like it's like it's kind of like I don't want to say it's a North American thing, but that's where we live. This is what we know. But it's so, in our generation, it was like, go to, finish high school, go to college, university, meet somebody, get married, have children, buy a house. Da, 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 da. And, there so many artists, like, we're not into that. Like what, like don't put us in a box, right?
Right,
So
right,
then when you
right.
try to do something like, what you're saying, like pay attention to what the universe or God or whatever is kind of
Driving
showing
you.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah. So for you, Deryck, like I always find this fascinating because I ended up doing like a corporate gig for 18 years until I had the guts to go out on my own.
Mhm.
Like I did both, right? But for you, you really built your career in music. Like how did you find the confidence to do that? How did you manage financially? Like what was
It,
happening for you with
through
that?
some of the same things you just said, I worked in the graphic industry for 10 years.
Okay.
I worked for the
Yeah.
Globe and Mail. I worked for Quadratone. I worked for the printing house. I worked for, a bunch of different places, Grenville Printing. And,
Mm-hmm.
the funniest thing about working in the graphic industry, it's sort of like a technical arts sort of industry because you got to know the sort of the artistic side of what you see on a computer screen, who's creating, whatever it is, magazines or whatever it is that they're creating. But you also had to know the technical side of how to use a computer and how to print and output all these different things. So I worked in the graphic industry for about 10 years when I was doing music. So there was times there where I'd say, well, sorry, but I got to go on tour.
Oh, good.
I got to go up with this
See
band
ya.
on tour. And they're like, what? Yeah, I need 2 weeks. Can I go away? All right, we'll give you the 2 weeks. There was the one thing that was kind of cool, in the graphic industry is that they kind of understood because you were sort of creative and a lot of musicians work in the graphic industry, which is funny.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of
Yeah.
musicians that worked in the graphic industry, so a lot of people kind of understood. Sometimes they
Yeah.
didn't. You couldn't do certain things, but sometimes
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can give you the next 2 weeks off. You haven't had any time off in a while. Like, cool. Go on this tour, come
Good.
back, and I'd be like,
That's great.
it'd be funny come back after the tour, and then I'd be like, do I still want to be doing this graphic stuff?
Yeah.
That built in my head over time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. And I guess in that industry too, like it's creative, the graphics industry. So that maybe you had like coworkers who all had like kind of artsy side hustles. So they
All of
got
them
it.
did. Even my
Yeah.
bosses had some sort of art thing that they were doing. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh, I
it's
love
uh,
that.
it's it's funny. It's
Hmm.
just funny because one thing I learned in that industry is how to run a business.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you had
Yeah.
deadlines and you had responsibilities and you had overhead and you had all sorts of things that you had to worry about. Like not me personally as a graphic operator, but I saw what was
Mhm.
going on and I learned the business of how to do things. You know,
Good.
and I think
I
that's
love
what. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love that you had that, you had the wherewithal to be grateful for what you could learn from there to then apply to your own thing.
Because I
You
still
know,
use a
that,
lot of graphic techniques today, like
mm,
just doing my own little flyers or doing putting my website together, or that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. So
yeah,
good.
yeah.
So you were in there, you were doing the graphic stuff for about 10 years, and then what happened after that?
I think it was Quadratone was the straw that shouldn't say broke the camel's back, but it was a
Yeah.
deciding factor for me, because at that time I was working a shift that was 7 to 3, like 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon for 2 weeks,
Oh.
and then three in the afternoon to 11 for 2 weeks, and then 11 till sometime in the morning for 2 weeks. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I had enough at that
Oh.
point, like because
Yeah.
that killed music for a year as well, because it
Oh.
was like I could only do music when I had the right kind of time slot that represented, how I was
Mhm.
working. Um, and so that was back, I'd have to say that was back in 98,
Okay.
99, around there somewhere. And I
Yeah.
just said, oh, doing music full time now.
Great. Oh my God. Congratulations. That's a long time now that you've been
Yeah.
doing it full time.
So I did a bunch of other things in that
Yeah.
time period too. Like I worked for um, Resolution Pro Audio, which was a boutique audio company.
Hmm.
So I worked for them a little bit. And then I was, at that time, or about 2003, my good buddy Kenny Moran, he's an amazing musician, engineer, studio guy who now lives in LA. Shout out to you, Kenny.
I
um,
love it.
he gave me a gig at Harris Institute that he was doing. He was teaching there.
Oh.
And the funniest thing about it is when he offered to me, I was like, no, man, I don't want to do it. And he's like, he got upset. And he's like, look, man, you're going to do this, man. I got to go to LA. You're going to do this. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And,
Great.
and, I still remember the first week. I was just so nervous. It's like getting thrown in the
Oh.
frying pan. You got like
Yeah.
12, 15 kids looking at you, and you got this course outline that you barely even know yet, and you got to teach them. Like teaching on one is a different thing than teaching a whole bunch of
Right.
personalities, I like to call them, right? Because they're all personalities, and they're all great people in their own right, but they all have their own personalities, and you have to got to figure out a way to work it all out. It's like driving a car like a
Oh.
bus. You got the kids screaming at the back, right? Right.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
after that first, I don't know, 3 months, I was just like, this isn't too bad. I like this, kind of like this, and I love it.
good.
I love teaching. I love teaching. I've been
Oh,
there. I've been there since 2003. Yeah,
fantastic. Oh, the students must love you.
I hope they do.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they don't, well,
That's good
I
for
tried.
you.
I
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah, it sounds like very fulfilling work.
No, it's great. And it's a great school that's
Yeah.
full of teachers who are in the field
Hmm.
doing stuff. So that's great too. And it's great. The best part about uh, teaching there and sharing your experience is seeing them come out, get a gig, and then a few of them have called me for certain things, and that to me
Beautiful.
is like rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see them doing
So,
that well. Yeah,
yeah, and it's so great, like, to, work with, I guess they're a younger generation, right? Like,
yeah.
they're yeah, so working with those students and, like, being sort of on the pulse of new music too, like, on your own through the students, like, where do you personally, Derek, see the music industry going? Like, are you
Woo,
happy with the way things are going? Or are you, like,
woo.
disappointed, like, looking back at
Oh my goodness,
the old days of hanging out in Aaron Nielsen's basement with all the
all the
new
gear and
wave
all
and all the yeah.
that
Like, how do you kind of feel today, um,
stuff.
with this?
It's hard to see where well, okay. It's easy and it's hard at the same time to see where it's going. It's
Mhm.
easy to see where it's going because technology kind of drives the pack, right? So, we have AI,
Mm,
we have the whole streaming thing,
mm.
for musicians and artists that are putting out their music. Um, what I really want to see is musicians get paid better. And I know Clint Ward is watching right now. chime in if you want, Clint.
Ah,
Me and Clint have had a lot of discussions about streaming.
I love it.
Usually wins
Ah.
for some stupid reason, but I don't understand why. But shout out to Clint Ward. Um, so yeah, I really want to see musicians get paid better for their intellectual property. That's what I want to see.
Hmm.
I think I
Yeah.
think I think the record companies for too long have made the bulk share of the money, and now it's even worse with streaming. I think because it takes billions of streams before you're going to make any money. You know.
Yeah.
Um, Now there's other ways that you can make money, and but the first and foremost way that artists should be making money is from their art, right?
Hmm.
Independently, I think is the better way to go for a lot of artists and bands.
Yeah.
Even just recently, a lot of artists and bands are selling direct to their clientele, to their customers, their client base, their fans, right?
Right.
And I think that's where we're going to see it going. I think streaming is pretty much going to be there, but I think we're going to see a lot of artists and bands selling directly from their own site, doing their own direct marketing right to
Mhm.
consumers.
Yeah. And it's mind blowing how advanced like some of these artists are that are doing that, and just their Instagram and their TikTok and all of the content that they're building
Hmm.
to engage with their audience. And
Yeah,
they would it's almost laughable if a record company approaches them. They're like, why would I? Look what
yeah.
I'm
But
doing
I
by
mean,
myself.
at this point,
Yeah.
there's enough tools out there to do it yourself. Really, the only thing you need the record label for is press and distribution. You don't need them to handle your every day to day, you know, sort of business and
Hmm.
marketing. You can do that yourself. But if you can get a really good press and distribution deal and maintain all your publishing, Lorena McKenna did it, right? There's
Yeah.
lots of people who've done it and done well. It's
Hmm.
just like depending on the situation that you're in and the kind of deal that you get. But I kind of think independently bands and artists can do it themselves.
Yeah, that's
More work.
inspiring. Yeah, more work, but also, yeah, like you said, then you're getting what you're worth, right?
Yeah, it's more rewarding in the end. You can actually sustain a living. You know what I mean? Instead of being below minimum wage and you've got like 40 million streams and you're like it's
Yeah.
paying you nothing every month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always shocked me like through the years how Canadian musicians have struggled. Like there are some amazing live bands I've seen that they're broke, you know? It's so
Yeah,
sad.
it's like I always take
Yeah.
this example from Steve Lukather from Toto. He said he goes as a band they used to make a lot of money just from radio plays. They would get checks for 50, 60, 70, $80,000. They don't get any of that now. It's gone away. It's done. And it's not to say that radio's dead, but it's not as good as it used to be, I guess, because the advertisers are going in different directions, right?
Hmm.
And the money's been flowing in different directions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's one of those things where every artist, every band can have a sustainable living. They just got to figure out a way to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's it like for you? Like you're a band manager and band leader in Toronto, like
Hmm.
in the rockin' city of Canada, which
Hmm.
I want everybody to know. So the coolest thing happened Saturday night was Deryck happened to be playing at the Wheat Sheaf, and I happened to be with a friend downtown Toronto for another event. So we did both events in one night and ended up hanging out with Deryck. It was perfect. Like we walk in, you're in your intermission, and then you were so sweet. Like you hung out and talked to us through your whole break. It was great. We loved it. And the
Yeah, it was
band
fun.
was
Good to see
amazing. We had to get up early in the morning, so we were like, okay, we're staying for three songs.
it.
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
really fun there. Oh my God,
Well,
what a great crowd. And
any
yeah.
musician, any band, any artist can make a living in the city, um, even if they're just playing in the city. Like I mean, they can put together a band. They can get gigs. They can get corporate gigs. They can get wedding gigs, festival, kind of little, small little festival tours. Like one of my favorite bands, another shout out, are the
Mhm.
Blackburns. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Corey. Right? Those are my boys.
Yeah.
And they've proven that you can do festival tours and do all kinds of shows. They're like a blues band or blues act,
Oh,
and
nice.
uh, they're doing it. There's lots of other bands that are doing it too. You can make your living in this city. I
Mhm.
think you have to diversify a little bit. And you maybe have your own band, play with some other bands. Maybe you teach as well.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a studio where you're recording people, mixing some of their projects. I'm kind of doing three things to keep my
Yeah.
living going, but I try to keep it all about the music, all about the entertainment
Okay.
factor of it. So, because people are always going like, "Well, you're doing three different things," and I'm like, "Well, not really. I'm playing drums, tracking drums, which you can see drums at the end,
Yeah.
right? So I do that for some people. I have a studio where I'm mixing stuff for people, uh, and I can do some sound design. I've learned to do that through SNS post production, so that's where I learned to do that. Um, that connection came through Resolution Pro Audio because I used to buy gear from there, right? I think it's about the connections that you
Yeah.
make,
Yeah.
connections
And
that you make, and how you maintain. How Orrin Isaacs would say, shout out to Orrin Isaacs. Orrin would always say, maintain those relationships, maintain
yeah.
them, right? So if you can maintain those relationships with people that you work with on a consistent basis, do a good job, those people eventually they become your friends and your family, right?
Mhm.
And they will always call upon you. You will always call upon them.
So true.
Yeah,
And I love what you're saying about all the different things you have going because I think that it also really illustrates the
excuse me.
way the world is changing. Like we used to be so focused on one thing, just do one thing but now, people are talking about when you have your own business, you need to pull from multiple revenue streams. Like don't
Yeah,
put all your eggs into one basket, diversify. Like use all of your talents and skills because it makes life way more interesting.
it does. It does. Like like
Yeah.
when you get up every day, you've got something different. And don't get me wrong, it's it's a constant hustle all the time to keep
Yeah.
yourself busy. But I guess that's part of the fun for me,
Mhm.
is to challenge because I see a lot of people compete against each other in this industry, and I just look at them and I'm just like, that's just wrong. The only
Yeah.
person you should be competing against is yourself. How well can you do? You know,
Exactly. And
and
don't you feel like when you look at our lifespan, Derek, like growing up in the 80s, and you think back to when we were teenagers, we had like Brian Adams,
mhm,
the Guess Who.
right,
Like I'm being Anne Murray was like a big Canadian
sure,
name, but there was like a handful, right? I
sure,
mean, maybe there was probably way more than that, but kind of the big names. And now Canada is like we're kicking ass. So it's just proof again that there's more than enough room for everybody.
sure. There's tons of talent.
Making art is yeah, we
You
should
know,
not compete against each other.
yeah. There's enough room for everybody to do their thing. Um,
Hmm.
there's enough. There's enough. You can partner with people too. You don't have to
Yeah.
do it all yourself. Find somebody that doesn't have the same maybe talent or skill that you have, and maybe partner with them. Maybe their business end is better and your creative end is better, right?
Hmm.
You can partner with them.
Yeah.
You can do a lot, right?
Yeah. That's great. So do you talk to your students about this stuff as well?
Yeah, like I mean,
Do
the basis of my course is contemporary rhythm production and music production, that type of thing. But we
okay.
do we do have discussions about the business. You know what I mean, and
Yeah.
relationships within the business. We do have
Hmm.
discussions about that because it's important for them to know that you know, yeah, you can be on social media all day. You can plug this and plug that, and go here and leave a link here and leave a link there. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to get out and network. see people face
Mhm.
to face. At least
Yeah,
I like that's the way it works for me anyway, right?
definitely. Yeah, those are good pearls of wisdom for them. Yeah.
Hmm. So we talk
Yeah.
about a lot of those things, um, and I see them. You know, it's different for them. It's a lot different for them, because they've got a lot that they're faced with because of the
Hmm.
technology. But the technology, you got to use the technology in a way. It's just a tool. What we're on today,
Yeah.
StreamYard, it's a tool, right?
Yeah, that's right. So your background is so awesome. So we're looking right now, we're looking at your studio, correct?
Yeah. And
Okay.
if I
That's
can, let me just see if I can do this in here. Camera. Do, 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 do.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
okay.
now you see the back of my head.
Yeah. You're
But
so good with the technology.
there's the studio,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Fantastic.
what I'm working from right there. Actually,
Okay.
let me see if I can. There we go.
Cool.
So that's
Okay.
kind of like the studio right there,
Yeah.
and all the gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the first thing I always tell my students that you don't need all this stuff.
Hmm.
But let me just switch back to the other camera.
Yeah.
Um, you don't really need all this stuff, but you only need the things that you're required to get the job done, right?
Mm.
So I know you see a lot of stuff there, but I use it all every day,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes you go into studios and you see 10 of one thing, 10 of another, and 10 of another, and it's just like, but only one is on, and the other nine are off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like I
Right.
always tell my students, just get what you need to get the job done, right?
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. God, it's such a nice setup. That's
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
You got nice out there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, all my retro stuff. I've
Oh, you
turned on
retro
my
stuff.
light up roller skate. I don't know if it's lit up,
Nice.
if you can see, but yeah. It's nice to have all this Gen X memorabilia. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. That's good. So with your band,
Yeah,
I'd love for you to tell people about your band and the kind of music you play and where they can see you, like how you guys, because you've got a great you're really good at marketing the band as well.
I
Um,
try.
yeah, it's awesome. Like the website's great, the Facebook page, it's and you've got quite the following. Like I was
Yeah,
impressed. We had VIP, we had to bypass the line. That was awesome. But
yeah,
the people were like around the building of the Wheat Sheaf trying to get in. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting how we got that gig. We've always sort of maintained some sort of house gig in different spots. Um,
Hmm.
I think it started even before this band. It started back in the early 2000s. Um, I had a band and we were playing at the Indian Motorcycle Club when it was there.
Oh God, I remember that place.
Remember that
Yeah.
spot?
Yep.
Um, and yeah, it was Fuss Cooper. He was the he was the guy
Okay.
that hired us to play there, and I can't remember where he saw us or something. Oh yeah, we did a corporate gig there, and then he kind of decided to say, "Hey, I want you guys to do like Thursdays." So we started doing Thursdays, and then we had that was Volume One, that name of that band, and then after that band, I had another band called Pepper Seed,
Mhm.
and we started doing Thursdays, like an R&B Thursday night, and then we would also do a Motown Monday night. So we do Motown songs on the Monday night, and then newer sort of 80s and 90s R&B on the Thursday night. So we started back then, and then after that kind of came to a close. We started, just doing other various places. We played at Soper Upper Lounge. We had a stint there. We had there's various other places that we played. But the most recent one is the Wheat Sheaf. That's before the pandemic, and it was interesting how that one happened because um, uh, it was Sean Creamer. He was the one that hired us for that spot. Thanks, Sean.
Mhm.
um, and he was working for the corporation that owns that the Wheat Sheaf. And we were doing kind of like various Fridays, Saturdays.
Yeah.
Um, and then after a while, um, they decided, and I was pushing a little bit to say, hey, put us on Saturdays. Give us an every Saturday. It took a little while, but I think there was one or two particular Saturdays that we did that they saw was just like they saw it on video and they're just like, wow, this is really happening. So they gave us every Saturday, and then we started building it. And it had its ebbs and flows in terms of audiences, but I have to say, in the last year, it's been packed like every Saturday. Like, let me find some wood to knock on here.
Wow, I love it.
It's been packed every Saturday, and we just do cover songs, but we do them in our own fashion, the way we like to do them.
Mhm.
Whether they're rock tunes, pop tunes, R&B tunes, reggae tunes, house music, whatever it happens to be, and keep them entertained. You know, try different
Beautiful.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it when we were chatting at the gig. You were saying, you kind of have to work on the fly too, because you're not always guaranteed the same demographic on a Saturday night.
right.
Like some nights could be 20 somethings, the next one could be like our age group. So that's nice. You guys are kind of flexible with
Yeah,
your
that actually
playlists, I guess.
actually that's the first. Like, I mean, we've always been pretty flexible, but I'd say we've been more flexible there than anywhere else we've ever played because of the
Mhm,
crowd is so different. All the time.
mhm.
Excuse me. And but yeah, it's been great. It's been grateful to have a house gig, right across the street from
Yeah.
where I live.
Yeah,
I don't have to
perfect.
bring I don't have to bring any drums. You know, they were
Yeah.
willing to buy a drum kit, which I'm still amazed by and thankful
Wow.
for. Gotta give a shout out to our sound guy Jameson Elliott because he's an amazing guy and he comes every Saturday and he pays attention to the band. Like he's in there doing the
Yeah.
bands all week long, and he's just like he pays attention to the bands. He cares about the music, cares about the way it sounds. He cares about
Mhm.
those are some good things. I got a lot of great musician friends that are in the band, and then
Yeah.
other ones that also sub in. You know,
Great. I was just gonna ask you that, like, how did your band come together? Like, who are all these guys
well, it
that
came
you've
together.
got?
It started in 2007, and I mean the band's evolved over time. The personnel changed.
Mhm,
But I've pretty much worked with Jarrell Christie, who's the lead singer, for a long time. Uh, and then, we had some other members in the band that kind of left and then brought some new ones in. And yeah, that's kind of the way it's kind of been working. Yeah.
that's
So,
great.
like Dane Wedderburn's playing bass. We've got
Mhm,
Federico Louis playing guitar. Um, and Mayor Steinberg's playing keys. Those kind of like that's kind of like the main unit, and then
mhm,
we've got some other guys that are part of the family too. Like Kirk
yeah,
Godwin plays guitar sometimes. Rohan Staten plays guitar sometimes. Rich Grossman plays guitar sometimes. Max
yeah,
Langford plays keys sometimes. Daniel Cowens plays keys sometimes. We have Roger Williams on the weekend playing bass with us. We've had
okay.
Calvin Beal playing with us. These are all people that I know for a long
Yeah,
time. And then we've also had
yeah,
Stacy Tab and um, various other singers like Gina Panesi.
mhm.
These are all local Toronto musicians and singers and artists doing their thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and again, like this speaks to the relationship building, like
yeah,
how wonderful to have this network of people who you can have a good time with and make beautiful music together.
yeah. We have fun. We just
Yeah.
try to have fun, and I think if a band's having fun, that translates to the audience, and they have fun as well, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah, and they were all having a lot of fun.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
pretty crazy, but it's all good.
they are.
all good.
Yeah. So, Deryck, I just wanted to let you know a couple of good old friends are watching right now. So, Paul
Ye-
Duke watched, and then he said, I got to run and catch the rest on YouTube later. But
Ah,
he said to say hello. And then Aaron was chiming in when we were talking about radio, and he just said, radio has been in trouble for over 2 decades since all those mergers happened, Clear
yeah,
Channel, etc. Spotify is basically the new monopoly. I worked for Saga Communications and Portland Radio Group for a stint there. It's
yeah,
definitely a transitional time out of the monoculture we grew up with. There's a lot more choice now, however. Yeah,
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
yeah. Aaron's been in that radio industry for quite a while. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he's right. Like, I mean, it's just, it's something that we got to work towards, and like maintain the quality of the music. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing. And I don't mean to like get up into anybody's business about how they write music, how they do it, what they think is quality compared to somebody else. But I think
Mm-hmm.
if we maintain the artistic value of music, and so people can express themselves, and then share that with people, and make a living from it, then I think the industry will be better off for it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are I gotta ask you, like, well, do you, are you afraid or intimidated or anything by AI? Like, is it, I'm just asking on the weekend, and maybe I'm like way behind the times, but I had no idea you could do this. So my husband was showing me this AI thing where you can basically take a Soundgarden song and put Daryl Hall's voice to it, and it's like, what the hell, like, because they capture, I mean, his voice is captured and they just put stuff together. And I was like, what the hell, like, I don't
To me,
know, I
okay. Maybe I'm going to seem a little bit stringent. Maybe I'm going to seem.
yeah,
Some kids are going to say, "Oh, you're wrong, man." Right?
yeah,
But I'm going to say this: a person's identity, a person's identity of who they are, is important to the culture of what it is that we're expressing in music. And when somebody else takes that, right,
yeah.
and misuses it in a fashion that wasn't intended, right, whether they're alive or dead,
Mhm.
right, I think it's wrong.
Yeah,
Personally, I think it's wrong, right? Um,
yeah.
there's intellectual property, there's copyright issues there. There's it's almost like the same thing that I was telling you about, when we were talking earlier about identity theft.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
who has the right to do that?
It is like that. Like when he
Right?
showed me that some random person had done this, I was like, we got to call Daryl Hall. Like he probably doesn't even know this is
I doesn't even
happening.
know.
But he was like, no, it's on and on. Like look at this website. Like it was like tons of different artists, like just where,
But well, let me ask you
throwing
this:
in their
doesn't
voices.
anybody stop to think that also destroys that artist, like their whole identity,
Yeah.
their creativity, their what it is
Yeah.
that they're about as a human being?
Exactly.
Did anybody stop to think about that? Like,
Yeah.
AI is
Yeah.
fun, but my thing
Hmm.
is, my thing is, AI ain't taking my live job anytime soon,
Hmm.
right? I
Yeah,
don't think
that's
people are gonna.
right.
I don't think people are gonna come out to see like an AI drummer on the screen or an AI band on the screen and dance to it. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I'll be gone before then.
I know,
Right?
exactly.
Because
But that,
this
you
is what I
nailed it.
believe. This is what I believe in.
Yes.
Right? This is
Yeah,
my religion. Right? So
that's
it's
right.
like, I don't want to. I don't want to seem. That might even sound a little narcissistic. I don't want to be. I don't want to sound narcissistic. But
No,
I believe in this. I believe in this. I believe in the
yeah,
connection with this and
exactly.
people in front of me, and then
No, it
we
doesn't sound
evolve.
narcissistic at all. Like
You know?
that's exactly the how we felt when we were on, like looking at what this person had done. It was like, how can you do this to people? Like, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel good to
So
me. And
only time will tell.
it,
I mean,
yeah.
the results will come from how people react to it. And I heard that the last
Mhm.
Coachella, there was a lot of problems with certain artists
Oh,
that were doing certain things that were, and they weren't even singing, and then it failed, and it backfired
yeah,
on them, right? So
yeah. Yeah.
it's weird,
Hey,
right?
you know what? It's sort of like, when people say, like, you hear this all the time, like, don't ever do anything for the money, do it for the love, do it for and that's it's such a true statement, because when you're madly in love with what you're doing, you'll do anything to get good at it.
Right.
And yeah, and it's such a beautiful human privilege that we can practice things and master them, and then we're in our 50s like us, Derek, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Yep, we're
Yeah.
here. We're doing it." That's what we have to teach the kids. Yeah. Yeah, there was something online, I was laughing. It said, "Do you realize now, we're as close to the 80s now as our parents were to the 30s in the 80s?" And I'm like, "God,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so funny because we're such a, I think, like, I don't want to say a young generation, but I think we love a lot of the same things that young people today love, like
Yeah. For sure.
the music culture is a big deal.
It
It's
is. It is.
yeah.
It's something that we can't. I think and that's another good point. Like, I mean, we've seen a lot of art. We've seen a lot of cuts in the way of like the arts, like in terms of funding for the arts. In
Mhm.
schools and colleges and things like that. Um, I think we need to prop that up, and we need to be aware of uh, what we can do to kind of maybe help fund some of these arts programs for kids, especially small kids,
Mhm.
because we
Mhm.
all know it's been proven that small kids that are exposed to even just basic instruments, how it it basically helps their mental cognitivity, I guess you could say, or
Mhm.
cognitive thinking, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Artistic things such as music, such as painting, such as creating jewelry.
Yeah, exactly. I have some
Right?
kids coming this afternoon to make jewelry. I'm so excited.
Go.
Yeah.
It's a creative process that keeps both sides of the hemispheres going in our brain, and
Mhm.
you know I don't
Yeah.
even know what to say.
Yeah,
What else?
it's
I
so
don't even know what to say
important.
about that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can say any more about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's dead on. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So Derek, if people want to get in touch with you, and so you guys will do private gigs as well, right? Like if
Oh yeah.
anybody wants to hire you out for a party or something like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun.
They can get in. Well, let me just see what my website is again. I got too many of them here. Let's get the correct spelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, website the chick n as in letter N,
Yeah.
waffleband.com. If they want to get a hold of us for any type of gigs, we do birthdays, we do weddings, corporates, outdoor festivals, anything like that. Studio website, L2 Music Productions with an S.com, for anybody that wants to collaborate with writing, have anything produced, mixed, remixed, sound design, those type of things, or any sort of composition. I also partner with other people, like Kadeski Dyer Music.
Okay.
Like I worked with them, um, which is a friend of mine, Nick Dyer. Um, they hired me to help them with their production, just organizing it. When they were doing a
Mm.
bunch of different shows, they were doing a lot of composition. I wasn't doing any of the composition. I was just helping them organize their production stuff, and so they could get it out and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I do that type of stuff too.
Oh,
just
That's
keep my
great.
keep both feet in, kind of thing.
Yes, you're a multifaceted entrepreneur. I love it.
Yeah. So I just
That's
try to,
so good.
if it's creative, I want to be there.
Amazing. Deryck, thank you so much for this interview. I love
Thank you.
talking to you. Yeah, so much
Great,
fun.
great to see you. Hopefully
Yeah,
we can get everybody together, Steve and Aaron and Paul Duke and whoever
yeah.
else.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah,
That'd be good.
we'll make it happen. It might be a smaller group to begin with, like if you're down in Burlington, like,
Yeah.
yeah, let me know and I'll get Steve out at least, and then we can keep on building. Because Aaron and Paul, they left us. They're,
Oh yeah,
in
they're
other
out
parts of the world now.
parts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Portland and BC, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great, Deryck. So I'm going to put you in our virtual back room. I'll be right back with you, but thanks
Okay.
again so much.
All right. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today and chiming in. What a great conversation with Deryck Roche. I just love chatting with him. So we will see you back here again next week for another episode. Make sure to check out our sponsors. Glamjewels.com is my website, glamjulz.com. Scooters.ca for roller skating. Flourishandbask.ca for really awesome alcohol-free beverages, and brendabadome.com for some lovely color clothes for spring and summer. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great day and keep on showing the world your sparkle. We'll see you back here next week.